Do you want to learn how to airbrush realistic looking fire, a true flames, a true fire like that? Well, you're in a good spot, because over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I will show you exactly step by step the tools you need and steps you need to take to achieve realistic looking flames using an airbrush. Welcome, enjoy. Okay, before we actually start throwing some paint on that little panel over here, I'm assuming at this stage you've got an airbrush, you've got paint, you've got compressor, and you know how to use it. If you don't, I suggest you get yourself familiar of an airbrush and how to use this, because no matter how many videos you're gonna watch about this, you ain't gonna be up to no good, because you need to start practicing. It's simple as that. Let me show you what I've got and we take it from there. You obviously need an airbrush. This particular one is a Budget Patriot 105, but you can use any airbrush you want, any airbrush you have, any airbrush you like. I'm using this one because I like using this one, but it doesn't matter. Any airbrush will do just fine. Obviously, you'll need a compressor, silent compressor, or industrial fucking loud compressor. It doesn't matter, as long as it produces some compressed air through this little hose all the way to your airbrush, you are good to go. Before I show you what paint I'm using, let me just throw it out here so it's clear. Nobody paid me to say what I say. Nobody sponsors me. Everything I've got here I paid myself, I earned myself. I use this paint because it was a couple of reasons really. A, it works for me. I got good results with that paint and I tried a number of them. And B, this paint is available to me where I live. I live in the UK and it's locally supplied. I don't need to pay shipping from America for silly money. And there are some different products out there that work equally or maybe even better than this. But this is available to me and I'm very happy with the results I've got. Yet again, nobody paid me, nobody sponsored me to say what I'm about to say. So yes, for my true fire airbrushing, I use Inspire paint. It's a solvent-based paint. I don't use water-based for true fire projects. I know you can get equally good results with them, most probably. I've not been experimenting too much myself with the candy colors, but you need candy for the way I do fire anyway. And I'll show you the best results I've got as with these paints. I'm sure there's different brands, House of Color or some other stuff. I haven't even tested myself. But I've been using these for quite some time and I got very good results with them and I'm very happy with them. But let me take you through which set exactly you need to get, well, my kind of experience, very good results in airbrushing true fire. So you need to start with Inspire thinner, just a solvent based thinner. You need a lot more than this. This is just an example. You will need white base. This is very important, white base. Later comes candy red, probably in most of that we're going to use candy red, following by base orange, candy orange, then base lemon and candy gold on top of that. As an extra you want sparkle blue pearl, and if you fuck up at any point you want a base black. It's always good to have base black, especially when you're working on black background. And why have I chosen black background for today's exercise? You can produce true fire on any color really with some alternations. It works really well on white and red and blue, even yellow surface, but the most dramatic effect and the best results, let's face it, is going to be your black background. This is just steel panel I've prepared previously. I've painted that with black, I sanded down with a 600 grit and it's ready to rock and roll. Nothing special about it, just black paint, simple panel piece, you know, as an example for you guys, a practice piece if you like. And the blue layer over here, the blue frame, it just tape so I get nice and even edge around it. Let's do this. And last but not least, you will need a freehand stencils. I call them freehand stencils because you don't stick them on and paint around them. The true fire like this is not gonna work. They're free to maneuver. You move them around the way you want. You put them on the artwork, spray a little bit, make distance, you know, so you can have soft edge if you want. Move it around. Done with this one. Move on to the next one and carry on like so. These stencils you can buy. Obviously you can buy them. They specifically designed for true fire stencils, and they cost, I don't even know because I never bought them. These over here I made myself. I cut them from what used to be some kind of a poster. You can see there's writing on this one, poster, because it was plasticky kind of thing. It doesn't absorb paint, it's durable, you can't really tear it very easily, and it lasts me for years. I had these stencils, as you can see, they have all sorts of paints on them, dirty and whatever, and they last me for years. Didn't buy my stencils. It's very easy to cut. You just need random shapes. I'll give you a close-up on some of my shapes so you can just pause the video and copy whatever you want. You can, to start with, use paper, thicker paper, A4 sheets, and cut them from that. The only disadvantage of that is they don't last very long. The paper absorbs paint and it gets wrinkly and it's easy to tear and gets heavy with paint. So these, you know, single-use stencils are pretty much, you know, you need to throw them away after one session. But if you don't have anything right now, you know, you can use paper for a very, you know, quick practice. I know because that's how I started. I was cutting my own stencils until I found some poster, plastic poster, and they work actually very, very well. So I've got bigger stencils for obviously bigger stuff like cars and, you know, hoods, bonnets, you name it. I use slightly bigger stencils, just like that. You can pause the video at any time, kind of copy the shape if you like. They're used for different purpose, but I learned over the years they work really well for me. All sorts of irregular shapes, you know, avoid sharp shapes, you know, because fire doesn't turn this way. And you can move them around any way you want and find your curvature you need, you know, longer curves, sharper curves, you know, over here. Tiny little, you know, licks of fire, of flames. It works for you very well. Soon enough you find your own pace and your way of doing it. I've got medium stuff for motorcycle petrol tanks and front and rear mudguards, and we go into even smaller stuff for like crash helmets and different designs, you know, so it works, it really works. Oh, before we start slaying that paint on the panel, because I'll be using solvent base paint, solvent thinners, that fucking thing stinks, especially when it gets airborne from the airbrush. Even tiny amount, it gets fucking everywhere. So you have to use a mask, proper carbon mask, and that's what I'll be doing right now. It's gonna be very difficult to me to explain and talk to you while I'm painting, so I will try to do a voiceover on the video, magic of Hollywood, and I'll see how that goes. I'm not very experienced cinematographer, so you need to excuse me my poor cutting, my poor editing, you know, abilities, but I'm a one-man band. I do it all by myself, so if you don't like it, you want to buy a DVD for some guy who's got, you know, team of people behind him, be my guest, support the other artist, absolutely fine. This is free, I do my best. If you don't like it, go home. Okay, let's get it started. I always start with white base. Always white base first. What I'm doing here, I'm mixing it up with a little bit of red candy, just so it gets that red pinky tint when I'm first spraying that on the board, which is gonna make my life a lot easier later on. You'll see. I'm doing here, as you can see, using my stencil very loosely, just to get the shape of that flame, of that piece I'm working on. I'm using the stencil very loosely, probably only 10% of it is stencil, rest of it I do by hand, as you can see. Little sparkles flying like this, everything is done by hand. Stencil comes maybe 10, maybe 20% later on when it gets a bit more detailed, but I'm trying to work with freehand as much as I can. And the reason for that is, if you use stencil over and over again, the fire, the shapes looking just very, very artificial and very samey. Even if you turn the stencil around all the time and use different ones, you will be able to recognize them shapes. And there's nothing works just like, you know, flames shaped painted over from a stencil. Some artists overuse it. They do 90% of it, and that's just not right. Right, next one is a red candy. Once I'm ready with my base shape of it, the base structure of the flames, I cover everything with red candy. And you need to do probably 3 solid passes of red candy. If I didn't mix my candy with white base, I would probably need to do 4, maybe 5 passes. Right, at this point we have it nicely covered in red candy. I'm happy with the outcome. We need to pause here for a minute and I'll show you a little trick. We need to seal that candy with something. The reason for that is, next one comes orange base, and if I lay orange base on that red candy, I turn around for 5 minutes, I come back to it, and the orange is no longer orange, it's blood orange, because the candy bleeds through it. So we need to seal it with something. And there are products out there that you can buy. They are a little bit more expensive than a regular kind of clear coat. Nothing special about it. I chose matte clear for the purpose of this exercise, just purely because there are different layers of paint on this panel right now. If you look at it, and you guys won't be able to see exactly what's going on there because the light reflects on it. You can see how ugly it looks currently because you got matte finish underneath, you got red candy which is glossy, and you can't really see anything what's going on the camera. I can just about to see it in the studio over here, but for you guys I chose matte clear, so everything kind of blends into one, and it will seal it. And all I need to do with it is gently dust it a couple of times. I'm not gonna coat it completely. I'm gonna have good 40 centimeters from it and dust it once, dust it second time, so the particles clear, coat the whole panel, and I leave it there 5 minutes, get tag rag to it, and I'm ready to spray another layer. Let's have it done. Right, once the clear coat base it's nice and dry, I'm coming here with base orange, and the process is very much the same as laying the white and red candy background. I'm gonna be a little bit more detailed over here. I chose my stencils to be slightly smaller, my shapes are slightly sharper, and I'm trying to go inside that red, what I've already done. I don't try to go plain orange on a black, it's just not gonna look right. So I'm trying to keep inside that shape of the red, and I don't want to cover everything of it. Majority, however, is going to be nicely blending them shapes in. And again, I'm using my stencil but very, very loosely. As you can see, I just get the random shapes, random sizes. I don't overuse it completely. Again, over here 80% of my work is done by hand. I use the stencil to roughly get the main shapes when I want to create like a shield, if you like, and then I work it by hand. Like over here, everything is done by hand. I put my stencil down, I take a step back, and I'm looking at it, seeing what needs to be done next. Here we go, orange candy, and that orange candy turns orange base into a bit more liquid form. As you can see, this is sped up 10 times. Again, I cover it completely, I give it good 2 coats, and my orange just turns, it liquefies it. It turns into this nice deep orange shade of flames. Yet again, I'm going to seal it, as you can see, with my clear coat, very, very dusted gently. Leave it for 5 minutes so it dries. So the next layer I'm going to come in doesn't going to bleed from the orange candy already laid. You know, I sealed between every coat. And this is how we look right now, you know, very, very briefly. I would say 50% of the artwork is right now done. There's a few more layers to go on top, very detailed work to come next. And here we go, base lemon. Base lemon is one of the final layers we're going to do before you lay the candy and some white spots on it. Basically, the rule of thumb, the brighter the color is, the hotter it seems to your eye, even though it's only paint. But visual effect, the brighter the color, the hotter it is. So the fire burns the hottest at its source, and whatever it just ignites in, and the gases burn the most. So you try to pick them hot spots, and again, you want to go inside that orange. You don't want to put any more yellow around, you know, the black or plain on red. That is obviously exception from the rule, but you want to go inside that orange. So kind of narrow it down so the very core of that flames is burning really hot. Apologies for my hands getting in the way, but you know, I don't really have anybody else to help me with that. So we just tripod it myself, but you get the idea. Again guys, over here I'm not overusing the stencil. A stencil is helping me 10, 15, 20% of the way. Rest of it I'm going freehand. And here we go. This is the trick of them all, the candy gold. Candy gold turns everything to pure fucking flames. I mean, look how nicely that the whole thing transforms from that flat yellow. Everything just becomes alive right now, and I cover everything with it. Not just yellow, I cover the whole artwork where it was, and it turns that yellow and turns that orange behind it. Just liquefies it, makes it a bit more alive. It's not just flat colors anymore. It turns it completely into a really nice looking piece. There we go guys, base white. It's the very hot spots, which is going to be on the very bottom of that artwork. Them little, you know, sparks flying around, and them corners when the gases burn the most, when it's the hottest. The hottest point of it is going to be white. And little trick over here again, I didn't seal it between the coats, because the white on its own will be too bright. So I let the gold candy bleed through the white a little bit, and if you leave it 10-15 minutes it will blend beautifully, and you'll never see that was just white on it. You'll see the bright colors just like it is over here, but it's not over the top. Sparkle Pearl Blue is my own additive to it. I like to run it very gently just around the black shape when the red candy was. You don't want to overdo it. You don't unburn gases. Sometimes you see in flames they just burn sometimes and they disappear very quickly. It does give nice visual effect to it. You can only see it from specific angles. Other than that, the whole thing remains black. Final coat of some clear coat just to seal the whole thing in. You can see it better when it's matte, and we are nearly there. There we go. This is a little bit ugly looking because it's all very wet. The clear coat's been weighed heavy. It's not polished by any means. It's still matte clear coat, just very wet at this moment, but you can see the depth of the black and the depth of them flames. And this is a finished face, you know. You can see the blue ever so gently sparkling between the flames, but as soon as I move the camera it disappears, and that's the whole beauty of it. It's like a visual trick effect, you know. When you see it, you'll be looking for it and it disappears every now and again. Once again guys, this is all very wet and unpolished piece. Once it's dry you see it matte, you know, and everything will make a little bit more sense. But very fresh finished piece. After all, it wasn't that difficult now, was it? That is about it guys. Hope you liked it, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, please like and comment and share the video. Help me grow this little channel. In exchange I produce more videos of how to do maybe true fire in blue and green. They are very cool effects we can use for that, even though technique is very much the same. We just use different colors. Once again, clear coated in gloss and highly polished would give even more dramatic effect. The depth of black will be even blacker, and the colors will be even more lively, but it just makes more sense with having all the lights and the reflection for you guys to see it like this on camera. I think it looks pretty decently matte too. What do you think? There's not much more to it. As always guys, thank you very much for watching. Rock hard, have a beer, and we see you very soon.